Hi, I'm Megan.
I'm Colin, and this is Pet Sitter Confessional,
an open and honest discussion about life as a pet sitter.
Brought to you by Time to Pet and Pet Sitters International. 2020 is turning out to be a booming time for the pet care industry as more and more places are opening up, and our clients are looking to go on those vacations that they held off through last year. This is putting many of us in the spot of starting to wonder if now is the time to hire. However, there are some things that tend to hold us back, and whether hiring is even the right move for us. So we're really excited to have Bella Vasta, owner of Jump Consulting and Bella in Your Business podcast, to talk all about mindset work when it comes to hiring and making sure that we are going to be the right leaders and the best leaders that we can for people that we bring on. Let's get started.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you for the invite. So my name is Bella Vasta, and I started in the pet industry in 2002 as a way to get out of my parents' house during college, believe it or not. They wanted to put a curfew on me, and I really wanted to go out karaoke with my friends. So when the lady that I babysat for had a friend who wanted me to sleep over with her two dogs, I was ready to pay her, but lo and behold, she paid me. So I started my business completely on accident and realized that I loved it, had a knack for marketing, and built the business. In 2007, I was the NAPS Business of the Year, and I also was 35 Entrepreneurs Under 35 in Phoenix, Arizona, where I'm based. And from that notoriety, I got a lot of people asking me, how do I do what you do? And so I started talking to people on the phone and realized that that is my true gift, is pouring into others and being their cheerleader and turning I can't into I can and showing people hope. Little did I know that the rest of my life story was going to be a constant testimony of all of that. But I had really ignited that fire. In 2016, after having my micro preemie baby at only 12 ounces and living in NICU with her for 6 months and not knowing if she was going to survive while coaching pet sitting business owners and operating my own pet sitting company with 10 people at the time, my goal was always to sell it once I became a mom. And so I did sell it for top dollar within 30 days because it had all the systems and processes in place to a great buyer. And then I went full force with the coaching because now I could dedicate it to my full time, to which we've grown to an agency side where we actually produce people's social media, about 40 companies every month, and also my mastermind, and of course the podcast. And I also have stepped into speaking back in 2017, where I actually travel the UK and the United States talking about leadership and social media through, talking on stages basically, and consulting with big companies, corporations too, and helping them train their staff. So that's me in a nutshell, Colin.
Well, and that's all.
Where do you want to go from there?
Yeah, and to think back that all that branched off of kind of accidentally starting a pet care company, which I feel like many of us are in the same shoes, right? Where we kind of look up one day and we go, "Oh, this is a thing." And so I wanted to take you back to those early days and ask you, do you remember the first time that you hired somebody?
I absolutely do, Colin. And I love that question. So a lot of things in my life have been very organic. In my 20s, I lovingly say I probably dated everyone on Match.com over 6'3" in Scottsdale, Arizona. And that's just my truth. And one of these gentlemen that I was dating also, he was a restaurateur and he had a bar here in Arizona and also one in Jamaica. And he was like, listen, if this is going to work out, you need to know the other half of my life in Jamaica. And he's like, come on, you're coming with me to Jamaica for 2 weeks. And I was like, what? It's July. Like July in Arizona is when it's like 115 or hotter. And so everybody and their mother, brother, sister, aunt, uncle leave the state because it's too hot. So pet sitting, as you can imagine, your listeners can imagine, it's a very busy time here. And I was just like, I was caught. It was my very first big dilemma in my business. It was, do I have this business and I say no to this opportunity and this possible relationship? Or do I say yes and figure it out as I go? So Colin, that was when I got my first worker. It was an independent contractor. It was back when I only had email. It wasn't like we could actually be sending emails on our phone. And it was back in the day. And I remember I went to Jamaica, and of course I didn't do it right. I mean, I did so many things wrong, but it worked. Everyone lived, everyone was alive. But it threw me into the pot immediately. And that's kind of very indicative of how I operate a lot of the times. You kind of say yes and figure it out, or jump out and sew that parachute on the way down, which is why it's called jump consulting. So yes, I hired an independent contractor. If those of you guys who know me or heard me speak before, I'm very pro employee. But I know both sides of the coin. Absolutely.
Well, and you say you kind of just have to jump in sometimes, because a lot of us get hung up right at that doorstep of going, I don't know, is it time to do this? Is it not time to do this? And we can start running through all these different scenarios. So how do we finally push ourselves over those fears and over those questions that kind of keep us from progressing?
I think what you do with fear as an entrepreneur, and I can pretty much peg almost anyone I talk to in the first 10 minutes. What they do with fear in their life is going to ultimately determine how they're able to scale their business. A good example of that would be who I know you guys are friends with, Natasha.
Yes, Natasha O'Banion.
Yeah, who built her own business up to 6 figures within six months, because she was like, whatever, we're going to keep doing it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. She's a bright star. She's amazing. Her and I used to be in very well contact a while ago. And she is a great example of that. But that's the thing, like, you're never going to have a perfect time. You're always going to have fear. I have fear. It's the way that I have a relationship with fear that really matters. Are you going to let it live in your kitchen or in your living room? Or are you going to put it upstairs in the attic in a hall closet, And so that's really what it comes down to. I've seen so many people be paralyzed in fear, and they're afraid to make any decisions, let alone changes or growth, for 5 years. And their business is totally plateaued. And they don't want to hire, or they don't take that jump, so to speak, because they're afraid of what ifs. And I always equate it to, there's the proverbial boogeyman in the closet. But once you turn the lights on and you get that knowledge, you realize it's just a coat rack. So when you actually can fight fear with knowledge, that's really where it all comes from. I want your listeners to think of something that they're afraid of right now, and think about that subject, and think about something that you don't know everything about it. But if you got that information, you wouldn't have anything to be afraid of anymore. And that's really what it comes down to. The people that will do it scared, so to speak, because we all have fear, are the ones that are going to actually progress and move forward and get closer to their goals if they have them. The ones that allow fear to be like a warm blanket holding them down are going to be in the same spot next year and next month.
Well, it is. Sometimes it can be very comforting, right? Because at least it's keeping you secure, right? It's like, this is predictable. This is what I know. And so my friendly companion fear comes up every now and then and just reminds me of all the bad things that could happen. And so I keep staying in the same place, right? And versus the other side, which you mentioned, of like, okay, like, we're going to try and put this fear into some context versus our goals and our objectives that we have. And we're going to keep moving forward and do it scared or work scared or work through that fear, but it's in context because of the information, because of the people that we're bringing around in our life.
Right. And the other thing is that it's like, what do you do with it? Like, how do you let it live in your community, in your brain, in your business? We all have it. So like, acknowledge it, but it's what you do with it that's going to drastically determine your success.
Well, and I think there are some really specific fears that I see come up a lot when it comes to hiring. Things like,
let's talk about them. I'll debunk them right now for you.
So one of the things that I see a lot of is people say, "Well, I'm afraid of losing control of the business that I'm running."
Okay.
What are ways that we could knock that down?
You need to lose control. It's your mindset. I have never met a business owner that's not a control freak. Okay. And so if you really do want to be that, you want to let your inner control freak out, which I encourage you to do, then let's make sure that you've got proper employee handbooks, employee manuals, systems and procedures all down, checklists, standardized. I just said that, standardized procedures, but like, let's make sure that we articulate that inner control freak in you. That's fine. You're totally going to give up control to someone else because you can't possibly do everything that you need to do as a worker and build the business. If most of the people that I talk to, they start their business because they want to make a difference in their own lives or their client and the pet lives, right? So like, let's think about this objectively. If we really are connected and tied to that why or that goal, then are we really achieving it by holding on with white knuckles to things and not letting it go? Are you going to make mistakes? Yup. Are your employees going to make mistakes? Yup. But again, is your fear bigger than your why or your will to do things? So giving up control doesn't mean that you don't still have control. Does that make sense? Like, you can give up the control of like 5 pet sits, but your control is that here's a standardized way to do it. We have trained you. We have retrained you. We have ongoing training. We've shown you. We've told you. We've demonstrated to you. We have monthly emails or monthly team meetings that we brush up on it. How good of a leader are you being? You know, it's not about giving up control, sticking your head in the sand and not dealing with it at all. But your leadership skills need to improve and increase. It's kind of almost toxic to think that I can't grow my business because I don't want to give up control.
Yeah.
Because like, let's identify what actual control are you looking to have? And is it possible to consider that you actually could have more control by giving up that quote unquote, air quotes here, control? Does that make sense?
It does. And I think it's the fine distinction between the phraseology of losing control versus giving up control, right? Losing control means you had no say in it. It just happened. Versus giving up control is you are handing something off when it's ready, as you've laid out here, with the proper guidelines, with the proper procedures, with the proper training. And so that that verbiage starts to change exactly what we're talking about here. It's not like it's being stripped away from you and you wake up one morning and everything's just a madhouse and wild animals running everywhere, right? It's a process. It's a controlled process of you slowly giving up the control for something better. Have you heard about Time to Pet? Susan from The Pet Gal has this to say.
Time to Pet has helped us grow exponentially. We believe the platform's features make us by far more professional than other companies who use conventional dashboards. They are the software gurus constantly developing and improving the platform based on user feedback. This decision was a good one.
If you are looking for new pet sitting software for your business, give Time to Pet a try. As a listener of Pet Sitter Confessional, you'll get 50% off your first 3 months when you sign up at timetopet.com/confessional. Bringing on employees tends to also add some initial work and having to deal with the employees. And so I know that that's another fear of all of this, quote, added work and headache that people have to deal with whenever they bring on employees that they kind of put off and they just don't want to be bothered with that.
Yes, 100%. If you don't do your groundwork and create that foundation, then it's not going to go well. And a lot of people, unfortunately, don't because they're not sure the right steps to take. So what we're talking about is things like the employee handbook, the employee manual. It's things like figuring out what kind of worker are you actually looking for. So many times in my free Facebook groups, I see people go, what are your favorite interview questions? And that's all fine and dandy, you guys, but it's not just one interview and it's not just one phase, or rather, I don't believe it should be. So I'm going to generalize the industry and I'm going to give you an example, Colin, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people, they're looking for detail oriented. They're looking for empathetic and caring. They're looking for flexibility. And they're also looking for like a long-term stable person. I think we could all collectively agree that those would be qualities we're looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at what point do you ever actually ask or test for that in the hiring process? The most I ever see is someone saying, are you willing to drive up to 20 miles a day? Well, Bella, they said that they're willing to drive up to 20 miles a day, and now they have a problem with it. Okay. You didn't test them well enough. Like that, it doesn't come down to that. Like there is a certain amount that like you understand that this is not just a job, it's a lifestyle, you guys. It's a lifestyle. And if you test it for that, then it's going to change your whole perception and your mindset. So what I encourage people to do is do phases of hiring. And this is something you really, truly have to sit down for a couple hours. Yeah, you have to do the work. But if you do the work and then you constantly are analyzing it and seeing what's working, what's not working, how to test, how to tweak it more and more and more. I have some clients that you would go to their Instagram page and you would think that they hired all kinds of social media experts because their 10 staff members are popping off in the most amazing engagement ways on Instagram. And they are flooded with clients because their Instagram is so amazing. Did they set out to do that? Or did they start finding people that are comfortable on camera to do things like that because they identified that that's what was important to them? That's the tip of the iceberg. I could spend a whole podcast just filibustering. So I'm going to stop talking right there. But you have to identify what is important to you. And I don't think a lot of people actually stop long enough to ask that question. They're paralyzed in fear. And then how can you actually test for that in a systematic way that does not depress you all the time? Because let's talk about the other side of this, Colin. It's depressing to look for a job or to look for an employee. And what it's depressing is because you get so many applicants, you get 99 applicants that are a no and that one yes. And so the whole time you're getting distracted in your email because there's a new application. There's a new application. There's a new application. And now you're squirrel moments and you're getting sidetracked and you're reading through and then they ghost you and then you can't remember who you need to contact back. Or was it Susie that said she loved dogs and not cats? Or was it Mary that said she loves dogs and cats? Let me go search through my email. When you don't have things systematized like this with the click of a button to move them on to the next phase, you're doing yourself a disservice. You are depressing yourself. You are getting scared because now you are the only message your brain is seeing is wrong person, wrong person, wrong person, wrong person, wrong person. And it's no doubt that you can't move forward. Yeah. It's this horrible hamster wheel. Luckily, we've solved it in many other ways too right now, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I think that the people that are paralyzed are in that conundrum. And there's more out there, you guys. It's not a bad thing. I want you to remember, why did you get into this business? Why? And it's different for everyone, yet it's all also the same. Because this last thing I'll say, and then I'll take a drink of water. Okay. I know that you guys did not get in this business to be hostage to your business. Can I get an amen, Bella? And also to be a slave to your business, where you lose all of your interpersonal relationships. People stop asking you to go to a barbecue or to dinner because they know that they're going to be rejected, and people don't like being rejected because you're doing pet sits or dog walks. Your family just doesn't expect you to be there for dinner, or you're a drive-through family that's always eating out, even though you wish that you had time to even think about what to make for dinner, let alone make dinner. Your life doesn't have to be like that. And scaling your business and getting people to work for you can help solve that. But you got to get out of your own way, and you got to do it the right way, because hiring pet sitters and dog walkers work, and scaling your company works. It's often the person themselves don't work. And we got to identify that. We got to fix it so that we can get you your dreams. All right. I'm going to take a drink of water.
No, you're good. You're right. We do start in this business because we love the animals, and then we start to love the independence, right? And the different things we can do. And so as we can step away and knowingly give up control, let's say we've conquered that step, right? We've given up control in a good, healthy manner for us and the people that we're bringing on. We do, that next step of just looking at that candidate field. And I love how you mentioned that it's not just about hiring people who, quote unquote, love animals or work well with other animals. There are all these kind of auxiliary or secondary characteristics and things that we do have to try and take into account and test for. And so I was wondering, when you talk about a process for hiring, what's a What's a process that is going to help us get candidates that are actually or work with us?
So this is a 2-prong answer. So the first prong is first, you need to get really clear on what you want to do. I have a 3-hour course. It's 3 parts. It's 1 hour each. It's called Jump and Scale, and it's for free. Any of you guys can go download it right now. It's on joinjumpconsulting.com. Put in your email and we'll send you the videos. What that does is it walks you through, like, who are you looking to hire, how to create that avatar, and then how to actually create a job, a hiring ad that talks directly to them. Because one of the things is that if you don't know who you're talking to or who you're trying to attract, then you just have some generic job offer or job description, and that you're like, hey, come work for me. We do everything that all those other pet sitters are hiring for too. Yeah, no big deal with us. Like, come on, you guys, like, let's actually determine who are we talking to? Why is it a benefit for them to work for you? And why would they want to work for you as much as you want them to work for you? It's got to be a 2-way street. That's something else I think a lot of people forget about. It's not just about, oh, I want to hire you, Colin. But Colin, it's just as important that I see that you want to work for me as much as I want you to work for me. It's a 2-way street. The other thing to this is software. I'm a big proponent of software. I've been working with Jazz HR for almost 3 years now, and they have helped hundreds of pet sitters do this. And because of that, I'm proud to always say that, like, I've got a 50% off deal with them. It's super cheap and there's no contracts. And I have written job descriptions or hiring ads that they give you. And they also give you an extra hour of service to help you through figuring out how to set it up and the ins and outs of it, which they don't usually do to normal people. So the cool thing with like Jazz HR is it's a step above Indeed. It posts on 15 different job boards. It tells you what job ads are actually converting, which is really, really amazing, because maybe you have 5 different help wanted ads, right? But one of them is people see it and they instantly apply. Maybe one of them, people see it and nobody applies. Do you guys have that information already? I have not known any other software or company to help pet sitters or any job people in that way, where you can see that conversion rate and then you can double down on what's working and not on the others. You can create those phases. Like I was telling you, like, okay, phase 1 is we're going to test for your attention to detail. And if I like that answer and you pass my standardized grading scale that I have for you, then I'm going to press a button and you're on to phase 2 because I've already loaded it in there. By the time you get to phase 5, you are like, dang, I thought this was just walking dogs, but this is a real business. And guys, people are not going to sit there for more than a week to go through your process when you feel like it. You got to be ready to go, because just like, I always equate interviewing and hiring to like dating, because it is. You're not the only cat in town. You're not the only one that they're applying for, interviewing with. So you got to be sexy. You got to be exciting. You got to be interesting enough that they're like, oh my gosh, did I hear back from them yet? Or I can't wait to reply to their next one because I want to really show them that I want this job. There's a whole different kind of experience that these people go on and end up appearing at your company ready to now go and be onboarded because they've been so impressed by this whole hiring process. But unfortunately, Colin, a lot of people are, hey, can you fill out this application? Okay, thanks for your email 4 days later. Hey, you want to do a phone interview? 10 minutes. 30 minutes later, you get off the phone. You have no idea what you just asked them, what they just answered. There's nothing standardized about it. And now you're going off your gut feeling. Then you feel like you need to meet them. So you meet them at a dog park or you meet them at a coffee shop and you either get ghosted or you don't know what else to talk about because you just already like exhausted it all on the phone. And now you're still going off your gut and you hire them. And then you say, and then it doesn't work out. And then you say, hiring doesn't work. It's my area. I can't hire. Well, it's because your system and your process and what you're testing for is defunct. We need to fix that so that your picker can pick good people and then you can move on to other things.
Yeah, you kind of have to offboard the gut feeling into a systemized process, right? To stop relying on the gut. I think that does. I'm sure that there is at least going to be some element, at the end of the day, where the gut is going to help you, sway yes or no. But you've got to get out 90, maybe 99% of just the gut feeling and move into: do they meet this? Do they meet this? Do they meet this? Okay, and how have I thoroughly checked each one of these through this process to make sure they're going to be a good fit? Because whether they have the skills or not is one thing. And then there's this other side of, okay, are they a good fit for the culture of my company? Do they vibe with everybody? And whether we want to admit it or not, all of our companies have a quote unquote culture, right? That we might not have systematized yet. But that is another element too that we have to take into account to see whether they're going to be a good fit that way.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think that when you are testing for culture and stuff, you can, what kind of things do they like to do? Are they a team player or are they individual? Do they what is their past experience been with companies before? What did they like about the company? What did they not like about the company? What are they looking for in a company? Where do they want to be in a year from now? What's their focus of their life? What's their goals? And then also with the whole interviewing, I feel like it actually should be 100% systematized. And here's why. Because almost everyone listening here, I won't say never. I've hardly ever met anyone that said, I love interviewing and hiring people. And that's my favorite part of the business, Bella. I would be a very poor girl if I said, a dime for every time that happened. Like, that doesn't happen. And so what happens is when you do actually start hiring people and scaling, what a lot of my successful business owners do is they actually outsource that. So when I say outsource, I say they hire an HR manager, or they hire, they have a manager who that is now their duty. And now they understand exactly what to do every step of the way, to the point that that business owner now has that final interview after they've already interviewed and passed with flying colors and met the standards and met all of that. And they're just giving their final sign off, or sometimes they're not even giving their final sign off. And they've delegated that all to the manager because they feel confident that their manager can pick someone that they would, because they have identified that gut. They have said, on a scale of 1 to 5, we're going to rate your answer on this. A 5 gets this if you do this with the answer. And that the questions are formed in such a way that you're literally you have defined what a right answer and a wrong answer is. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think the ultimate goal should be to really get it so that it is systematized, but that's hard for a lot of people because it forces you to figure out who you are and what you want. Having a business and scaling a business, guys, literally is like your preteen years. It is wildly uncomfortable. Things are happening that you have never experienced before. It is awkward. And you're trying to figure out who you want to be in life. You're not a kid and you're not a teenager. You're kind of in between. And I got news for you. That's where your business is at, right? When you start hiring people for the first time, you have a lot of self-discovery to figure out. And your business is a direct reflection of yourself. Your business is a direct reflection of yourself, which is why leadership is so important.
Well, and is probably one of the scariest components of running our businesses, because if we don't know who we are, how in the world do we know who our business is? And then how would we even be able to fathom who to bring on and who to add into that
and
mix?
that's where you get, and that's where, sorry, I got excited there. That's where you call in the people in the Facebook groups that say what's your favorite interview question? Or, should I hire this person? Or they're looking for the answers outwardly instead of inwardly. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't ask people, but it would be hey guys, listen, I'm looking for attention to detail. And I thought that the right answer on this kind of question would be this, but this person said that. And it kind of gave me something to think about. What do you think? Yeah. That's a whole different kind of informed educated question than, well, what should I ask them for? And so that is where it really tests you. I always say the ship can only sail as good as the captain at the steering wheel.
Again, you're trying to offboard the gut feeling. And that means inherently that you're going to have to write some things down in black and white. And that scary part of going,
make a decision.
I'm the one who gets to determine what's right and what's wrong. And so I've got to do this with self-reflection. I've got to think about this answer actually in a genuine, honest manner. Because I feel too often we go, oh, you could never systematize a gut reaction. Is it that, or are we scared to figure out what the answers actually are and actually put it down in paper?
Yeah. I mean, okay, awesome question. Let's blow this up. Do you think the Marriott brothers or Mr. Marriott said, we're going to hire people for the front desk based off of gut? And that's how we're going to build a global brand off of our gut. Like, and that's what I do, Colin. Like when I have decisions like that, I blow it up to like the most biggest possibility I possibly can. And then the most tiniest possibility I can. And too many people are playing too small. But Bella, I don't want to have a corporation like the Marriott or the Hyatt. Okay, I get it. But there's still some lessons there that you can take. It's why you can go to any McDonald's and get the same kind of Big Mac, no matter where you are or what country you're in, mostly. You know, and that's where you got to really start thinking about your business that way. Now, do you get to decide what extreme that goes to? Absolutely. But I think it's time for you to wake up, guys. It's time for you to wake up and plant your feet in the sand, draw that line and say, this is what I want. And that is hard because we're all walking around with so many things inside of us. Like, I mean, right now, after 2020, a lot of us are probably still in survival mode. And you're like, I don't care who it is, Bella. I just want to get my business back right now. I get it. But can I encourage you to shift your mindset just a little bit and say, could that have been the biggest blessing you ever had? Could that have been the best time for you to now build your business back up the way you wanted? Maybe in February 2020, you were sitting there and you were teetering between doing 50% dog walking and 50% pet sitting. But what you really wanted to do was build a dog walking company because it's more predictable and it's 10 to 3 Monday through Friday, generally speaking. And you were sick of nights and weekends and holidays and the operations of it. So could we maybe stop the insanity and say, hey, what I really want is a dog walking company. So I'm going to take this opportunity right now to build my business back up exactly the way I want. Are we strong enough inside of ourselves, everyone listening, to go after what you really want? What do you really want? Can you articulate that? And then do you have the guts to go after it? That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. I can't tell you the answer. Only you know that answer.
Well, we'll tell everybody to go ahead and pause the podcast and write down exactly what they want right now. We won't feel bad about it. You can continue playing whenever you're done writing down that homework assignment. But 2020 really changed a lot for the industry, and right now in 2021, the job market is weird. I see a lot of hiring signs. I see a lot of open positions around the country and across all the industries. And so as we are looking to post our ads and start going into that process, how do we make ours stand out from the crowd? What are some elements that we should be having?
Okay, so kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, and I definitely have a lot to add to it. The word I like to use is sexy because it kind of wakes everybody up from walking dogs right now. Sexy, sexy, sexy. You got to be sexy, guys. Like you have to be not just another ad that people are reading. You get to be around dogs and cats all day. Like your boss licks you. You go home with fur on you. You get to be outside in the sunshine. Moms could drop their gym membership and you pay them to exercise, or dads. Okay. So again, if you have a clear definition of self, it's going to be really easy to illuminate that and be very different than everybody else. But if you don't understand explicitly what you are, then that's going to be hard. The other thing about the mindset with the job market is there's always going to be a problem with the job market. In January, February 2020, we were complaining that there's not enough people to hire because it was at an all-time low of like 3% unemployment. Now we're like, yeah, guys, guess what? 2021 is going to be volatile. I've predicted every stage of this so far. Right now, we are in a bubble. People are having revenge spending right now. So now we're feeling the pressure even more to hire. Guess what? What happens to bubbles? They pop. And I predict about fall-ish, it's going to pop and your numbers are going to go lower again. And then they're going to surge a little bit towards the end of the year. But no matter what happens with the job market, looking outwardly again and saying that like, oh my gosh, the climate, oh my gosh, this is why it's important to know what you're looking for, articulate what you're looking for, and then have software like Jazz HR to go and help you understand what is working and what is not working. Like those conversion rates I was telling you about, like being able to give people an experience of that all by saying, by clicking a button and now they get their next stage. Can you get people through 5 stages of your interview process in 48 hours? You can with Jazz HR, and they could be really impressed and excited to work for you. People are get bored or they lose their interest in working for you when they have to wait hours and hours and hours and hours to hear back from you, or they don't know what the stages are. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And I keep mentioning Jazz HR. So for any of you guys who have already Googled it while you're looking at it, if you go to jumpconsulting.net/Jazz HR, that's how you can get Abby. And that's how you can get in on that group rate I was telling you about. And it's around like 115, I think it is, a month for that middle plan. And guys, I want you to think about it like as if, how much is your next new employee worth? Okay. How much are they worth? Are they able to generate $15,000 a year in revenue for you? How do you figure that out? Okay. So you have 5 employees and you make $100,000 of revenue in your business. You don't do any of the work. Roughly speaking, each one of your workers is responsible for 20 grand. Now it doesn't seem like that much if you can pay $100 or whatever to do that and get someone back that can increase your revenue by that much. How much of that revenue would be profit for you? Or on the other hand, if you can also systematize the onboarding part where you actually train them, and there's lots of different, things that you can do, but like, get them a pet CPR and first aid certification and a pet sitter certification, all in under 4 hours that you have to pay them for. And you can do that all lickety split through pet care team training. That's easy and exciting because it's streamlined. And now that you've hired them, they're like excited to get out there because they had an exciting training part with you. I mean, the whole thing, it's a courtship and a marriage, essentially. You're building a relationship with people. And so think about, they're applying for other people as well. So other people are vying for their attention. What are you going to do to stand out? I can give you examples. I can't tell you exactly because I don't know what you're looking for. But I can say, make the process fast and smooth. Get them through like within a week at the very most. A lot of people are taking 2 and 3 weeks of interviews back and forth. And by that time, they're putting the nail in their own coffin. The verbiage and the way that you talk, are you I hey girl people all the time, like, hey girl, you go girl, like pay attention to your vernacular and don't be afraid to put that in your phases or in these interview processes that you're doing. Don't be afraid to put it in the job description. You're not a corporate job behind a desk. Like, don't be afraid to get cute with it. Don't be afraid to be different by it. People will hear your voice. Try hiring a copywriter to write one of them. Who knows? Who knows what's going to convert? You have to test it, and you have to be playing with all the dials because it's not just one thing. It is a global effort when you're trying to attract the right kind of people in any kind of market. Yeah,
it's really taking the exact same approach we do to getting clients and the client experience, the client onboarding process, the client communication process. What is it like for them to interact with us, and reapplying that to the hiring process and going, okay, maybe it's a little different. Maybe we do things a little differently over here versus the way we do with our clients. But if someone's listening to this going, oh gosh, like I don't even know where to start. It sounds like we should have all of these same skills kind of already built up for finding new clients and talking to clients. We're just, putting a few filters over it to talk to the people that we're hiring.
One would hope. Although as I see in my mastermind, every month we have a different topic. One of next month's topic is customer service and customer experience. Yeah. And we actually had Joey Coleman in there last year or the year before, never lose a customer. And he has this 100-day method. And it's really cool. And it's like, because buyer remorse sets in after you have your first, after you sign the deal or whatever. And you're like, did I make the right decision? Did I do all this stuff? And we go through this roller coaster of emotion. So yes, in theory, it absolutely is. You should have an amazing client experience. And that doesn't mean like, hey, thanks for using our service. It means something that's like touching them for the next 3 or 4 months. And it is the same thing with employees. And that's after the onboarding process. That's getting them to fill out things like their favorites sheet when you hire them and know what makes them tick, and having personality tests so that, their love language, and like just ways that you can surprise and delight them to make sure that those beats stay up. So yes, I always say there's 2 problems you're always going to solve, and it's getting more clients and it's getting more employees. Everything can be underneath one of those 2. And yes, a client experience and a employee experience is very important. But in order to do that, that's so far down the line. Like, you got to know who you are and what you're looking for first, distinctly. And how is it different than the other 10 pet sitters that just put a job offer right next to yours? What are you going to do to stand out? Or are you that preteen that dresses just like all the other 5 girls? You all have the same shirt, the same kind of shoes. Like, what makes you stand out?
Mm-hmm. Right, because we're competing for the same hires, we're competing for similar clients, and so having these good processes, having these good onboarding procedures, really do help us compete with businesses who are maybe even able to pay more, right? Like, where it's not just that number that we have attached to the per hour. There's all this other stuff that we can start building into it to start, again, as you said, making that courtship process between you and whoever you're hiring, a little bit better. One thing that I've always struggled with, and so I'd love to get your feedback on this, and I know others do as well, is, we ask for references at the end of something. What do we ask a reference? What makes a good question to a reference other than, what'd you think of them?
I don't really actually believe in asking for references.
Okay.
So I kind of think that, like, someone's going to be really dumb if they're going to give you a reference that's going to give them a bad reference. Right. And so, I mean, when it comes to asking employers, we're really, our hands are tied with what we can actually ask or what we can say. So it's really just verifying dates of employment, and if you would ever hire them again. Right. But in terms of, this day and age, I would more so be, internet stalking them. I would do a Google search. I would rely on things like the Orion to see if the questionnaire, the test that they filled out, if they're lying on it or not. I would, within my processes and my phases, I would be testing for the things that I really want to know. Like, tell me, you often get it from the actual applicant. So, okay, tell me about your last 3 jobs. Tell me about the last one. What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Okay, cool. What did your supervisor do that was like really awesome? And what did they do that, you wish they could have changed? All right, cool. Tell me about your second one behind that. And then the third one. And you ask those same questions, you're going to start seeing a pattern within the person where you can know if you got to go deeper or sideways on. But respectfully, I don't think that references are really going to help explain anything to you, because most people aren't going to give you names of people that aren't going to sing their praises. It's a formality that started before social media, right, and for some reason is still out there.
Right. Well, yeah, no, and that's a good thing to remind ourselves that if we are asking for that's going to be heavily, heavily biased, and that there are other things we can come alongside of it and supplement with, whether that's additional questions on the hiring form, or whether that's doing a little bit of Google stalking and other things like that, but not relying just on the word of somebody who you don't know from Adam. And you alluded to this a little bit earlier of people being burned by a bad hire and then swearing off the whole process entirely.
Yeah.
How do we recover from a hire gone wrong?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, we just had a story in my mastermind about a gal who's just about to start hiring again. And she hadn't done it since pre-COVID because her employee was accused of stealing a Louis Vuitton purse. And it turns out that she did. and it was a big hairy mess. And so of course she had some, like, she was a little gun shy, moving forward. So again, this all comes from within ourselves. We have to acknowledge what part did we have in this, meaning, could we have done a better job at testing this person or checking them out? Or did we just meet them at a dog park and they liked dogs, so we hired them? So I would say first ask, how could I improve? I think a good leader is always asking, what part did I have in this and how can I improve? The second thing is know that nothing is 100% foolproof, and you could get one of the most perfect people ever, but it means that they were perfect in their past. It doesn't mean that, they might have a crisis in life and act a fool and make mistakes or become dishonest. Right. So you can never, don't beat yourself up. But I think through proper, you alluded to culture earlier, or just the way that you train up your staff and the relationships that you have with them, there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. And it just depends on the individual. But it starts with, am I going to let fear get in the way of my why? And if you can tell me, no, you're not, and then be ready to take action, then you got it, girl. But if not, then that's okay too. But let's be honest with ourselves of where we want our business to go and who is the one that's actually holding our business back.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking that time to really do some self-reflection. And I think that plays into a little bit of the why we're hiring and how we view that person. Are we viewing them just as a grunt to do the work that we don't want to? Or are we viewing them as a valuable asset that's going to help increase the client experience and help increase satisfaction across the company? Because you hire those two thought processes very differently, and you need to set yourself up for success and exactly what you want out of that person too. Are you a member of Pet Sitters International? PSI is the largest educational association for professional pet sitters and dog walkers, with a mission to promote pet sitting excellence through education. After the tumultuous past year, having the support of a strong community and direct access to educational resources and business tools is more important than ever before as you rebuild your business in 2021. PSI is here to help. With a monthly member toolkit, monthly bonus resources, online trainings, private member group, and more, combined with group rates on insurance and background checks, PSI is the one-stop shop for everything you need for your pet sitting or dog walking business. As an educational association, PSI believes that if you know better, you'll do better, and invites you to join thousands of other like-minded professionals who are committed to offering the best possible pet care services and elevating our industry. If that sounds like you, which I'm sure it does, visit petsit.com/PSC to learn more. Our listeners can save $15 off your first year membership by using the promo code PSC15 at checkout. So all this talk about hiring makes me think of the question of, is hiring right for everybody? Is every person listening supposed to hire for their business?
Nope. That's the short answer. Nope.
Next. No kidding.
There are many people out there that have no business hiring, but they're trying to do it. And then they're blaming it on everything else except for themselves. There's something to be said when, you're the common denominator. Right. And so it's, you have to be vulnerable. It's uncomfortable. Like we've talked about, to truly do it right, you're going to make mistakes. It's not going to be perfect out the gate. You have to tweak it. You have to have a mentality of, you don't mind failure and you're going to keep going forward because you're connected to that why. You're going to not make the right choices 100% of the time. What are you going to do when that happens? How are you going to mitigate the fear and the risk? So no, it's not right for everybody, but there comes a point where either someone is tapped out and they're doing 10 visits a day or more, God forbid, and that's their life. And then your mental health starts taking a toll, and it's you're lonely and you're depressed, or you become overweight because you're going through drive-through all day, or you don't even get to see your own pets, or you start resenting life, or it's just the same old thing and life happens to me. It really can crush a person. But for the right person too, it won't crush you and you're perfectly content doing what you're doing. And this is what you're doing. And that's it. I would encourage you to go work for someone else so that they can take care of all the extra headache of stuff. Because it's a lot to be running a business and working a business. It's very, very difficult, and to do that long term. But I believe that, and this is why I'm a coach, and this is why I help people on the cusp of getting employees and scaling their business up to 7 figures, is because I believe the people that I work with are the ones that have a bigger vision for their life, for their family, for their future. They see their business as an asset, not as a wet blanket. They see obstacles just as things that they need to zig and zag around, not something that pounds them down into the ground and they can't get up. So it's a personal question. It really is. It really is.
Yeah. It's another reminder of when we start our businesses, just how, as you said, personal it's going to be. It's an entire personal journey. And that is both exhilarating, and it's both, as we mentioned earlier, it's fearful. It's scary to think of just how much of us gets put in the business. But that's good, because then we're able to come from our strengths, right? We're able to lean into those, and we're able to grow in the areas where we need to grow to get to the places that we have in mind of our goals, and to start viewing it as, I love how you said that, as viewing a business as an asset to accomplish these things in life that we want. Like, that just completely changes how, what you do after you wake up in the morning when you view it as an asset.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to remember why you started the business. And most of the time I can generalize it, and it's people say for freedom, and so that they don't have to be told what to do. But what they don't realize is that their business is actually holding them hostage, and it's holding their life hostage and their relationships hostage. And it's this turning point that you get to when you're actually ready to start doing the work, which is where it's exciting for me, Colin, because the people that I let in the mastermind are the ones that are pulling up their sleeves, ready to get to work, and ready to push their brains outside of the norm. Right. And it's the people I think I had told you, and I'll mention it now. We're doing a hiring challenge next month in May for just anyone who wants to join. Normally I've done this before and they've been $500. We're only doing it for $10 this time. And that's just basically so we don't get any looky-loos. $10, a little bit of a tripwire in a way that's called, but at least $10 down so that you're in there. And I know that you're kind of serious about it, and let's do it. And it's we just loaded up that group with all of the postings for the whole month, and resources and videos and trainings and all this amazing stuff, because it's important who you surround yourself with. And there's so many free groups of negativity out there. And it's important to be around other people who say you can do it, or you can watch other people actually doing it. You're not just listening to me and saying, yeah, Bella, you don't understand. No, watch my jumpers. They actually make it happen. They do it. And that's what we're going to do the whole month of May. And you can sign up on JumpyBot by going to jumpconsulting.net/challenge. And JumpyBot will sign up or jump up and get you signed up. But it's, you have to be, I keep saying leadership here because I feel so strongly about it. I feel like that really determines someone's tenure in their business, right? And it's, are you going to surround yourself by people doing it? Or are you going to stay isolated, listening to your podcast or your music in your own self-doubt and self-fears and conundrum every day? Are you going to reach outside yourself? Are you going to find a place of people doing it, making it happen, trying things different? Colin, a year ago, do you know that I had one of the world's best sales trainers come into my mastermind and give people a blueprint on how to do virtual consultations? What? What? Do you know that I just got off a mastermind call today, and I have at least a dozen companies that are actually doing virtual consultations, some of them who were the biggest naysayers about it. And now they're we ain't ever going back, yo. All of those fears and all those buts and you don't understand. I have companies that only run dogs that do this. Right. Okay. And it's guys, it's changing how business has changed. Nothing's going back to normal. We are in a different environment. You get to determine how you build your business back up. If that doesn't excite you, I don't know what will. but you have the best opportunity right now to do whatever you want. What do you want? You guys ever seen The Notebook? When he sits there and says to her, what do you want? It's one of my favorite scenes. Maybe I can send you a clip for your show notes.
Yeah.
But truly, guys, like, what do you want? The how-to is so easy. It's easy. It's you and your brain that you got to get past. And it doesn't mean that you don't have fear, but you got to surround yourself by people that are going to push you and that you can do it with. You got to be feeding your eyes and your ears with positive stuff. Clearly, you're doing that right now because you listen to this podcast, and you got to keep moving forward. You got to keep moving forward. All right. It's time to wake up. Business is coming back. The world's coming back. And I hope to God in the past year, you did some self-discovery and you worked on your systems, processes, and procedures. And if you didn't, look me up. I can help you too.
Because there's the best time to have started was yesterday. The next best time is today, right? But
for real. You want to talk interview questions, Colin? That's going to be an awesome interview question for the next couple of years. 2020 pandemic. What did it mean to you, Colin? You listen. Okay, here's a tip. I'll tell you, all your listeners. I talk about this in my employee quick start program. You ask a question and then you stick a straw in your mouth and you start drinking your drink. Why? So that you stop talking. Listen. Too many people talk the entire interview. You should not be talking the entire interview. You are interviewing someone, right? And so you ask the applicant a question and then you stop talking. The best way to do that is to have a drink with you, because that'll give your mouth something to do. I know that sounds funny, but it totally works. And so you ask somebody, what was 2020 like? Guys, a good answer would be, oh my gosh, it was amazing. I got to get, stronger relationships in my life, or I started walking or hiking, or I rearranged my house, or I don't know, all these things that they worked on. Or they could be like, oh my God, 2020 was terrible. Oh my gosh, we're all going to get 5G poisoning. And that, regardless of how you feel about masks, maybe they're complaining about masks. Maybe they're complaining about the government. Maybe are they being positive on their thought process of it, or are they being negative? It's the same kind. It goes in line with the question I was telling you, Colin, about your last job and the job before that and the job before that. Are they a positive person, or are they a negative Nelly? And if you listen and you ask the right questions and you know what you're looking for, they're going to tell you. I promise. You just have to have clarity first.
Listen for those unspoken things. You're listening for the space between the words, basically. You are trying to see what are they not saying as opposed to what they are blatantly saying. Because when someone says, yeah, right, it would be great if they said, oh, what was 2020 like for you? And they're like, I was really motivated and I became a better leader and I, was really, self-starter through it all. Like, they could say all the buzzwords, or they could say, you know what, I learned how to cook pasta and, I got, I went on more hikes and I did all these stuff. They said the exact same thing, just didn't use the buzzwords. And so it really does take time to listen for that, get out of our head and be focusing on them. Which is hard, right? Because then we've got to pay attention and we start to get impatient. And how long is it going? And there's all this stuff that I could be doing and I'm wasting time doing this. But you're going to miss all of those signs if you're busy doing other stuff.
But see, that's the perfect thing. Like when you have a standardized way of doing it, you say, okay, you get 1 point for answering this question positive, or no point for answering it negative. Or describe 2020 in 3 words. Were they positive or were they negative? And then you get to score that on your own little notebook that nobody sees. So it's fun, guys. When you actually dissect it, I don't think people understand how much work it actually takes to create this workflow in these phases, as I keep saying. But if you really put the energy into it, it's going to be like so much more of a walk in the park, you're going to feel like, compared to how you were doing it before.
Yeah. And take that joy, remember, because you're doing something good for your business, right? So it should be this process that you start to look forward to, because at the end of this, it's going to be better than where you're starting from right now.
Yes, exactly.
Bella, this conversation has been fascinating. And I really appreciate you coming and hammering home the point that we need to figure out what we want and that it's up to us. And that is something that we should look forward to. And that there is actually joy in this arduous process that might not be there when we first think about it. But I know that there's a lot more to this. And you have a whole thing going on next month. And people have a lot more questions about this ever-changing topic. And it's always something that people are interested in. So how can people get in touch with you and remind us of where to go sign up for next month?
Okay, thanks, Colin. So the first thing is I encourage you guys to just connect with me on IG. It's just Bella Vasta. I like to, you can slide into my DMs or whatever. I like to build a relationship with people. So that's where I'm going to send you. I'm not even sending you to my website. Surprise, surprise. I want to be your friend. So reach out. Tell me what was your biggest takeaway today? What stood out to you? Because Colin and I are sitting here on Zoom recording this in our own offices, but we're really curious to know how you guys liked it and what stood out to you. Because what stood out to me might have been different. The other thing, thanks, Colin. Yeah. So we are doing that challenge next month. And if you're ready to hire it, or you're scared to, and you want to put yourself in that community, like we were saying, come and join us. It's jumpconsulting.net/challenge. It's only $10 for the entire month. And you'll get all of me. And by the end of it, you'll either love me or you'll hate me. And that's okay too. And then the last thing, if neither of those are interesting to you, or you're not ready to do that, and you still want to keep to yourself, just go to joinjumpconsulting.com. That's exactly how you can sign up for that Jump and Scale course, that 3-hour course I talked about earlier, where you can watch the videos and create your avatars for who you want to hire. When you're like, Bella, I don't even know who I want to hire. What are you talking about? How do I do these phases? What are you talking about? I explain it all right there. It's joinjumpconsulting.com, and you'll get it all in your email.
Yeah. Perfect. And I'll have links to that and more of the stuff that we've discussed in the show notes and on the website, so people can click right to those, and it's easy to find and to start making some positive changes today in their business. Again, Bella, this has been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. It's so nice to finally meet you.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Yeah, absolutely. Many of us decided it's time to hire because we are busy. We have too much on our plate and we need to take a break. But what I loved about my conversation with Bella is that we have to take a step back from that and figure out first what exactly is that we want out of our business. She said it a lot, and so I'll say it one more time. What do you want? What do we want? Hiring just because we're busy doesn't always get us the exact employees that we need to help us run the business that we want to be running. And so finding our motivations and finding our purpose in business and in life and aligning those with who we are as a person, yes, that is a process. But it is a process that is going to give us ultimately a much better business and a much higher quality of life at the end of the day, because we know we are operating in our strengths and we are operating centered around our purpose for our business and for ourselves. We want to thank our sponsors, Time to Pet and Pet Sitters International, for making today's show possible. And we want to thank you for listening, for tuning in, and would love any and all feedback that you have on this topic and others that you'd like to hear going forward. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will be back again soon.